What's up, moviegoers? Welcome to the Marchio podcast. I'm your host, Anthony. In this episode of the Marchio podcast, I'm talking about the 1978 slasher film, Halloween, directed by John Carpenter, produced by Deborah Hill, written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. The movie was released October 25th, 1978, has a running time of 91 minutes, had a budget between $300,000 and $325,000, and it grossed $60 to $70 million at the box office. The movie stars Donald Pleasence and Jamie Lee Curtis in her film debut, and the plot tells about a mental patient who was committed to the sanitarium for murdering his teenage sister on Halloween night when he was 6 years old. 15 years later, he escapes and returns to his hometown, where he stalks a female babysitter and her friends while under pursuit by his psychiatrist. Now, this movie is one of those quintessential movies where it's a simple title, it's a simple, story. It's about a killer going after babysitters, and, the underlying story is that basically Michael Myers is going after his sister, and his sister is Laurie Strode. And the reason she has this name is because evidently she was adopted or whatever, and we find out that he's coming back because he wants to, finish what he started. This movie from start to finish is fantastic. It's great. If you haven't seen it, I'm pretty sure everyone has seen it, then you're missing out. The movie is very well known for its camera work, the cinematography, the slow movement of how Michael Myers works in this, and how John Carpenter captured everything. And it was just easy, and it was just simple. And it's become one of the most profitable independent films of all time. Primarily praised for John Carpenter's direction and score, many credit the film as the first in a long line of slasher films inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho and Bob Clark's Black Christmas. Some critics have suggested that Halloween may encourage sadism and misogyny by audiences identifying with its villain. Others have suggested that the film is a social critique of the immorality of youth and teenagers in 1970s America, with many of Myers' victims being sexually promiscuous and using substances, and the lone heroine is depicted as an innocent and pure, hence her survival. Now let me, delve into that. The whole sadism and misogyny about identifying with the villain, it's different, it's weird. I mean, the tagline in this is "The night he came home." And even though we're talking about Michael Myers, some say that he is the good guy in this, but he's not. He's not the good guy. The good guy is played by Donald Pleasence, and his name's Dr. Sam Loomis. Now, Jamie Lee Curtis in her film debut is great. She is the daughter of Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh. And if you don't know, Janet Leigh is the blonde in Psycho at the beginning of the movie who gets killed in the shower. So it's great to see that Jamie Lee Curtis is starting her lineage with horror movie, which was great. And how John Carpenter created this movie was fantastic. Him and Deborah Hill did an amazing job. And the character of Michael Myers is, this whole blank face, this whole blank feature of what he is. He has no emotion, nothing like that. And it's funny because the mask that they use in this movie for the Michael Myers look is a Captain Kirk William Shatner mask that they found at the store for like $2 or $3, I believe, and they just, painted it white, spruced up the hair a little bit, cut out the eyes, made it a little bit bigger, and that was it. There's your Michael Myers. It was good and it was effective, and for $300,000, and for this being the most profitable independent film of all time, is really saying something. Now, John Carpenter agreed to make the film only on one condition: having full creative control, and was paid $10,000 for his work, which included writing, directing, and scoring the film. He and his then-girlfriend, Deborah Hill, began drafting a story entitled The Babysitter Murders. Now there was an independent producer who suggested setting the movie on Halloween night and naming it Halloween instead, to which Carpenter agreed and developed a story. Carpenter said the basic concept was Halloween night. It was never been the theme in a film, so my idea was to do an old haunted house feature film. Now, Deborah Hill worked as a babysitter during her teenage years and wrote most of the characters' dialogue, which were female, while Carpenter drafted Loomis's speech on the soullessness of Michael Myers. Many script details were drawn from Carpenter and Hill's own background and early careers. The fictional town of Haddonfield, Illinois, was derived from Haddonfield, New Jersey, where Deborah Hill was raised, while several of the street names were taken from John Carpenter's hometown of Bowling Green, Kentucky. And the character name of Laurie Strode was allegedly the name of one of Carpenter's old girlfriends, while Michael Myers was the name of an English producer who had previously worked and entered on certain European film festivals. Now, basically, John Carpenter drew on haunted house folklore that exists in many small American communities. Carpenter's inspiration for the evil that Michael Myers embodied came from a visit he had taken during college to a psychiatrist institution in Kentucky. He then visited a ward where his psychology classmates were the most serious mentally ill patients were held. Among those patients was an adolescent boy who possessed a blank, schizophrenic stare toward John Carpenter. Carpenter's experience inspired the characterization that Loomis gave of Michael to Sheriff Brackett in the film. And Deborah Hill has stated that the scene where Michael kills Wallace's German Shepherd was done to illustrate how he's really evil and deadly and doesn't care about anyone. Now the ending scene where Michael is shot 6 times and then disappearing after falling off the balcony was meant to terrify the imagination of the audience. Carpenter tried to keep the audience guessing as to who Michael really is. He is gone and everywhere at the same time. He is more than human. He may be supernatural and no one knows why. To John Carpenter, keeping the audience guessing was better than explaining away the character why he is cursed by some. Now the cast included veteran actor Donald Pleasance and then unknown actress Jamie Lee Curtis. The low budget limited the number of big names that Carpenter could attract to this movie, and most of the actors received very little compensation for the roles. Now the role of Dr. Sam Loomis was originally intended for Peter Cushing, who had recently appeared as Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars. Cushing's agent rejected Carpenter's offer due to the low salary. After that, Christopher Lee was approached for the role. He too turned it down, although the actor later told Carpenter and Hill that he declined the role was the biggest mistake he made in his career. So when Christopher Lee comes up to you so many years later and tells you that this is the biggest mistake of his career, that's saying something. And can you imagine if Donald Pleasance wasn't in this and Christopher Lee played Dr. Sam Loomis? Holy shit, what a movie it would have been. Now, John Carpenter admits in an interview that Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't the first choice for Laurie. He states that he had no idea who she was. She was 19 and in a TV show at the time, but John Carpenter says he didn't watch TV. He originally wanted to cast Anne Lockhart, the daughter of June Lockhart from Lassie, as Laurie Strode. However, Lockhart had commitments to several other film projects and television projects and could not take the role. Deborah Hill says that learning that Jamie Lee was the daughter of Psycho actress Janet Leigh, stated that I knew casting Jamie Lee would be great publicity for the film because of her mother was in Psycho. Curtis was cast in the part, though initially she had reservations as she felt that she identified more with the other female characters than anything else. Now the role of Michael Myers, aka The Shape, was billed in the end credits, who was played by Nick Castle, who befriended John Carpenter while he attended the University of Southern California. Now after Halloween came out, Castle became a director, taking the helm of films such as The Last Starfighter, The Boy Who Could Fly, Dennis the Menace, and Major Payne. Halloween was filmed in 20 days over a 4-week period in May of 1978. Much of the filming was completed using a Steadicam, a then new camera system that allowed the filmmakers to move around spaces much more smoothly. So John Carpenter was only paid $10,000 for this directing, producing, and writing role and scoring the movie. Well, he hit it out of the park, and when you get 10% of the profits, that's really saying something. The good thing about this is he made an iconic character in Michael Myers, who shows no emotion, and he created a fantastic symphony, a fantastic music score that still stands to this day. You think that, when you think of Halloween, you think about that music, that dun 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 dun. You hear that, and you want to, when you hear that music, you really want to, think like, oh, okay, this is Michael Myers. And the thing I like about this movie is that there is no bloodshed at all. Any scene that Michael Myers kills someone, you don't see any blood at all. And that's the interesting thing. If you do see blood, let me know, because I'm trying to figure out where there is bloodshed in this movie, because there is not one drop of blood at all. When he gets shot 6 times, there's nothing. When he stabs people, there's nothing. There's a scene where he, stabs someone and hangs them and looks at them like a dog, and there's no blood, nothing of any nature of blood is seen or shown, which is really good. And you think like, oh, Halloween's a scary movie. Well, yeah, it is a horror movie. It's scary, but there's no bloodshed. So let me know in the comment section below what you think about Halloween. And do you think that it was one of the most pinnacle movies of all time in the horror slasher genre? And John Carpenter created a fantastic character and created a fantastic movie. There are a lot of Halloween fans out there and a lot of fans of this movie, and it goes to show that they know more about Halloween and Michael Myers than they do Friday the 13th and Jason and A Nightmare on Elm Street featuring Freddy Krueger. So let me know in the comment section below about the questions I just asked. And stay tuned to the next episode of the Marchio podcast, where I talk about Halloween 2. And be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new videos and new podcast episodes on the Marchio Productions YouTube page. And follow Marchio Productions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And follow me, Anthony, your host, on Instagram and Twitter at misterfilmstock. And follow the Marchio Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll leave a link to all the social media accounts in the description box below. You can check it out and follow along. All right, everyone, that does it for today's episode. I'm your host, Anthony. Thanks for tuning in.
I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.